So, forum this morning, so we'll call the finance committee meeting to order. We do not have an on-site packet. We don't have any additions or revisions to the agenda. Any announcements?
Yeah, Madam Chair, we have a new employee, Andy Martin. He's our public information officer, so you're gonna see him a lot here. I think maybe I'll give him a chance to speak a few words at the board meeting, if that's okay. So I just wanted to introduce him.
Okay, great, welcome.
Thank you.
So we did have the December 11 minutes attached to our packet. I'll give everyone a few moments if you still need to review. And when you're ready.
I'm ready, version. Are you ready? For review? All right. Andrew Goldsmith, board member, I move to approve the minutes of the December the 11th, 2024 finance committee as written.
Sorry, second. Second, any discussion? And all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll move on to unfinished business, starting with the monthly financial report.
Sure, that's on page 5 in your packet, and it's looking pretty much kind of the same as we expect. I think the trend, though, that I just want you to understand is the revenue is more staying stable or going down a little bit. Now, it'll come up just a little bit because we're getting ready to go into grad season, and then our biggest season. But, and of course, the expenses are also going up because like every piece of software we have, everything like that goes up every year. So it's just a trend that I want you to be aware of. We're not at statutory cap on all the fees. And that might be an option. But I'm just kind of throwing it out there. You know, I can bring in June a little bit more of the trend and everything, because it would be closer to the end of the fiscal year then.
When was the last time we raised fees?
It was when we joined the compact, was 2019. Yeah, 2019. And that was for the RN and the LP.
A lot of things have changed since then.
Yeah.
It has, and we raised them for both single state and multi-state. And reinstatement and some of those, so. But we didn't do anything with the APRNs because they were not part of the compact. That was kind of like not to do anything, just basically tie them to the fact that we were joining the compact. And that, the monthly reports are pretty well looking, what I would expect. We still have a few open positions. Not as many as we used to. We have some investigator positions, but and then there's one in Adrian's division. So.
We're really excited to be fully staffed with the AGs.
Yeah.
So I know. Yes, I'm sure you guys are. So were we when we interviewed her.
It's like,
Okay, so that's all I have.
So can we put that maybe on the agenda, have that for an agenda item at our June meeting? And then maybe at that meeting also, would you bring with you kind of what the percent increase was when the last increase was made in 2015?
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
Would it be beneficial to also look at fee structures for other boards of nursing around the country? We do have some data sets that we've pulled from, if that would be helpful.
Because we, at that point in time, when we did that, we were one of the lower ones in the nation. And that kind of brought us up to like mid. So we're nowhere near as much as some of them charge. We really aren't.
Well, you know, I have noticed, I don't know if this, but nurses have been getting raises too. So it's not, I don't feel like it's going to be a hardship because, they have significantly caught up in a lot of areas only.
I think it will be brought in, I mean, I think it will be brought into question, just given all of the workforce
It will.
issues and things like that. So I just think it's important to show either where we fall in general with other states or, you know, the rationale for why it's needed.
There's usually some pushback when it's any kind of fee increase has been taken. Even though it's regulations, it still has to go to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules and Regs. And there's usually some pushback there, although the decision still rests with the board.
Overview of fiscal year 25-26.
Yeah, you don't have anything in your packet for that. The bills have been put together over there, the budget bills, because, today, Thursday and Friday are it for this session, hopefully, nothing to be done then. So I have seen the bill, there's no change for us. I think they're still working on changes for other people. But we didn't ask for an enhancement, so that's kind of where things got hung up if you were asking for an enhancement, which we were not. So we got what we put in on our budget for this year and next year. So that's what I would have expected.
Budget update.
Well, it's kind of been all the way through the process. It's just waiting for that final bill, what they call the omnibus, the mega bill. That's what I call it. And, again, I've seen the draft. Ours is okay. I think we're very close to that being finalized. I'm not sure, I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not real clear yet how this new budget process is going to be, because I believe next year they're going to start with a new budget process. But they would be working on it much earlier than they have in the past, because in the past they've always waited for the governor's budget to come out. And the thinking is now they're going to work on it before that takes place. So we're all just kind of waiting to see exactly what that process is gonna look like. Timelines may be different.
Okay, committee name and structure.
Yeah, this is on page 6 in your packet. We kind of talked about this last time. And so what you see is the articles for what is the finance. I think what you talked about last time, the name being Finance and Risk Management Committee. And then you wanted us to work on expanded responsibilities. So that's what you see there. Again, this would be in the articles, where we always have for every committee, you know, some information. So I don't know if this is what you want, if you want changes made.
I thought this looked great and, just a process question. Do we approve this and recommend it for approval? Well, do we recommend this for approval? Because we're not approving the change. Are we approving the change or are we recommending the change for approval of the full board? I wasn't clear on because it is an articles change.
Right, probably recommend to the board, and then the board, I guess the question I had, and maybe this is a question for the full board, is do you want expanded responsibilities for each of the other committees? Because this one has a lot of expanded responsibilities and the other ones are pretty short. So maybe you're okay with that, that's fine, I just thought I would bring it up.
Madam Chair, one of the things that actually just occurred yesterday, in the Information Technology Executive Council is there was an approval of a new policy that's, giving more focus to agencies and leadership positions and boards that need to have more focus in this particular area. So given that we're kind of being a little more descriptive than maybe in other committees, I would advocate that we leave some of this in here in case there is any sort of I don't want to say expanded responsibilities. Those could potentially be added in the future as we see where this new policy goes. It is a bit more detailed, but given the nature of what we're trying to oversee and make sure that we keep ourselves in compliance with the new rules and policies of the state, you know, maybe expanded responsibilities isn't the right term, but would advocate for maybe leaving some of this a little more descriptive.
I feel comfortable keeping the detail here, but maybe after you get through all this other giant reg review process, maybe for next year's
Goal.
administrative task or whatever, looking at the other committee responsibilities, I wouldn't hold off on doing this until we get all the other ones done. You guys have so much on your plate with the other reg review process.
I would agree. I mean, this happened because a need was identified to make changes for this committee, and that could happen in other committees if, you know, discussion led them down that road. So I think I would agree, like, we could move forward with this. Not could be something in the future.
And this allows, you know, if there was some sort of focus, let's say in one of the other committees, that something was gonna be sensitive in nature that needed to have a little bit of extra oversight. You know, it could be referred to the Finance and Risk Committee to have, you know, further look at it. Just because of the nature of the world we live in, especially with the cybersecurity situations that are going on in the world. I don't see it slowing down, unfortunately. And then, you know, that would allow the committees to not get burdened with something that maybe is out of the scope of their particular committee.
That was good. Can I make a motion, please? So I would move to rename the Finance Committee to Finance and Risk Management Committee. And further recommend that the full board modify the articles of incorporation to reflect the duties of that committee as presented.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Our legislative review.
Yeah, this is different than what you just finished. And I know it's very confusing, and Andy and I have come up with kind of an idea that I'm gonna talk about in the board meeting. So that how all of this whole reg thing could take place, reg review thing. So I'm recommending that perhaps you think about tabling this right now, because this just has to be completed during 2025. Plus the fact you're gonna hear about this in the board meeting, you had directed me to work on the regulations and bring back a draft to make them non-refundable, the fees. And that is on the board agenda, and that would be a lot of these right here. So,
And can I ask for a question on the non-refundable? So that would be to include if I accidentally went to get a license and then I changed my mind. That definitely covers that. Okay, good. That's a big priority.
yeah, Charles and I worked on it, and what you'll see is his recommendation. It's pretty easy, but it's basically non-refundable of all the fees listed. So it should catch a lot of what we're seeing.
Okay.
Now, I submitted the wrong application. I submitted 5 of the same application and paid for 5. Something along that line, so.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move this new business to future meeting when we have more direction about the fund. And also then just process in general that we're looking at. Okay. So we have some agenda items now then for our June committee meeting. Any additional agenda items we added?
Madam Chair, we might a new thing occurred over the past couple of weeks. Our licensing system that we use is called My License Office. And that particular product is now going to be end of life 2 years, 3 months, and 4 days from now. Basically, we're moving into the Evoke world with Linda and Disciplines area. What I would like to potentially do is to see if we can move the licensing into that over. This is not a project that's gonna happen right away and requires a lot of financial looking and security and state approvals, that sort of thing, but we do need to get the ball rolling if we're gonna do it. The alternative is, the state has a centralized system that they use for other entities. There are a lot of agencies that are trying to move to it. I believe they've been working on it for a couple of years now, and to my knowledge, nobody's in it yet. So we would just be another one in line and probably will have unsupported software while that's trying to go on. And I have no idea what that would cost, but that would be basically scrapping the entire Evo project and the licensing system and moving to the state's centralized system. So there's that option as well. But I think personal opinion is that it would be the least disruptive and probably in the best interest of KSBN if we could just move to the next product. Think of it sort of like going from Windows 10 to Windows 11. It's not that easy, but it's something we're gonna have to start now. Or soon. And then
The thing about the centralized one, that the other agencies, right now, there's no cost to
right,
the agencies. However, that's probably not gonna last forever, would be my guess. And one thing that they could do very easily is you could pay for it based on the number of licensees. And we are the biggest license. I mean, we have the largest number of licensees of any of the regular. So if they went that route, the Board of Nursing would probably pay a large part of it, truthfully.
and there are benefits to being centralized and there's benefits to being autonomous. The one things that was centralized is maybe you get an expanded technology team to help with some things. But then you're also just one of many. And so I would say, take a look at what's going on in Missouri right at the moment. It's in the news as of yesterday. What's going on with their nursing board in terms of their consolidated effort. It's not pretty from what I've read. And that has happened in different arenas. But,
I haven't heard the Missouri part, but being on our own a little bit instead of in for cyber security, we would be at a bigger risk if that one was.
You could look at it two ways. You could look at that we have less resources to protect what we have. I mean, that's one thing. We do have the benefit of having cybersecurity professionals that are doing a lot of work.
That are
611 hours is what I spent last year on this.
That are focused on the board.
Right, this is focused on KSBN. They do have other agencies, but we are
Right.
really involved with them. And so you'll actually be seeing some of that coming out of this committee here soon. But then the other option is what happened in Maryland, where everybody was in one system and it was breached, and then everybody was offline and nursing was just one of many.
That's what I was concerned with, is not being in the soup pot with everybody else. We're kind of,
And this will be a hosted type environment, so there's gonna be all sorts of security things. We've actually already started it because of the Evo project, so we have a lot of work that was done prior to ever even tackling the business needs for Linda and Discipline's team. So I feel very comfortable with that. They have all the language, the SOC 2 and the NIST and all these
and this is the
things.
separate entity, not our.
This
the
is
one
our
we're
licensing
already
system.
doing, and not the big.
Yeah, and we're moving towards it because of, the world is going that way. I personally think it's in a way because software vendors in general, Microsoft Office is a pay per month service. you know, Adobe that we use as a pay per month service, everything's going that way. Because historically what had happened is places like, you know, small businesses would buy Word 2000, whatever, and just stay on it and not upgrade because it could type their documents. Companies figured that out, that, hey, if we have this reoccurring financial model, then they'll always come back and, oh yeah, by the way, you always have the latest security thing. I mean, that's the other thing. So it's a process. This will be a different model for us, but, we think it'll set it up for a little bit stronger, and it will give us the benefit of having the system automation team, basically helping us with it a little more, than they do today even, so. We just want to bring as much information. I just got the letter, so, like less than a week ago.
And what's the timing of that decision from your perspective that needs to be made?
I don't know that we'll have an exact cost by the June meeting, just because I don't know that I'm gonna be able to tackle all that, but it's. I don't know yet what it's gonna cost to
Yeah, I
do this
mean-
migration.
Funding, I don't know if there's any support for us. If not, it would be, you know, we would be asking for more for next year. So that's gonna put a red flag, especially if we're not in the central one. And again, you know, there's different ways. So depending on the cost, we're gonna have to figure out where that's coming from.
And what I've heard from the centralized system is that there's a large upfront cost to get into the system. Based upon the agencies that have discussed it with me, comparative to what we have in nursing, I'm guessing that's gonna be a really large cost. Just from technology wise, what we have. But apparently it's a little bit lower end on the maintenance side of things. Now, we have a really low maintenance with system automation, but now it's gonna be this it's probably not gonna be per month, but it'll probably be per year hosting fee that we'll have. So we'll have to factor that model in, but we've not necessarily done other than for the EVO project. I should say the investigative and discipline EVO project. We'll then have to factor that in, but we'll get the economies of scale because we're already gonna be in the presence of that particular environment with that particular project that we're already focusing on. So I don't see it as much of an increase as we have potentially just lifting and shifting to a whole new system, let alone the disruption that will occur, you know, going into a new system, pulling out of that system. You know, that just doesn't make sense to me. There's a
Yeah, we've been with
Professional.
system automation for, since
16 years as of
Yeah.
last week.
we have a long history with them.
So when you do come, would it be to this committee for review and approval of
No.
that change? Could you do a side by side then? of
Yes,
Pros and cons of each, whenever it is that you bring it, but.
we did a similar one when we looked at orbs. That would be the other option, is to look at that model. They too, it's a no cost solution, but no cost is relative. They don't have any costs, you know, assistance onboarding and importing, and then long term, I've had concerns of how they're gonna sustain that long term. But that's a different subject.
There's a list to get into that, and there's a way
yeah.
to get into that.
There's a way to get into all of these, you know, Board of Healing Arts is moving to the centralized system, Real Estate Commission, accountancy, you know, everybody's getting into this thing, which it might be forced upon us. We may not have a choice. But I think based upon the work that we do and the business that we do, this other company has not done for anybody, to my knowledge, no nursing boards that I'm aware of anyways. So that would be a learning curve too. Plus, when you have regulation changes and those sorts of things, and you need to increase the fees or decrease the fees or change business logic for military, we would just be one of many, and we're gonna be waiting until it can be done. So
So June, for the June meeting, you'll bring back maybe what you've had thus far in
Right.
terms of comparison of current options, potential costs associated to, and we can review along the way.
yeah, that's,
We know.
yeah, if we can. My other concern is that the software vendor also has many other customers that are in the same boat. And we're all gonna be going at the same time trying to do the same thing. So that's another thing, but, we can work through it. It's fine. They've been doing a really good job on the Evo project, so that's another reason that I think I feel more comfortable, just based upon the work that we're doing. We'll talk a little bit about it in the meeting, but, I have no idea about this other vendor, so I mean, it may or may not be the greatest thing on earth.
So. Have our agenda for 2025.
Okay, well, I'll see you in a few.